the Trump administration has announced there will be no prosecutions over the Jeffrey Epstein saga, and there will be no Epstein files released.
He did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1
Sure.
second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
He did work for.
All right. Let's not talk about it anymore. For whatever reason, Trump's base wants to talk about it.
Well, yeah, that's because Trump's influencers, including, his deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino, I think Kash Patel did too. They talked about Epstein constantly. Yep. They painted it as like a Democratic Party elite plot that was being covered up. And then once Trump was elected, it was all going to come out. So they whipped up their own followers into a frenzy. And now that they're in power, Trump says, there's nothing to see here. Let's move on. Who wants to talk about it?
Yeah. Here's Dan Bongino, now deputy director of the FBI.
Huge story. Again, not a lot of people are talking about. There is a little current of information I'm getting that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi may be finally releasing a lot of information on this Jeffrey Epstein case, which is a huge deal. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm hoping it does. I've been covering it for a long time. The Jeffrey Epstein case, you do not know all the details of this thing, I promise. There are a lot of really obviously powerful people. This part you know, but the specific names we may not, including, I believe, the Clintons, based on information I discussed yesterday, who are knee-deep in involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, and no one can figure out what the level of entanglement is. Jeffrey Epstein met with Obama's fixer, his lawyer, Catherine Rumler, who was always the one in the middle of these Obama scandals, and we can't figure out why, what they're hiding. Here's Marsha Blackburn, who has been all over this. She's a senator from Tennessee, Republican, obviously. And she's like, hey, man, is it time now? It's time to start overturning that rock and seeing what's underneath it.
All right, we get the point. This is was day after day from Dan Bongino and so many other astroturfed right-wing AM radio hosts that there was going to be some imminent, gigantic, powerful drop of Epstein files and prosecutions, and Trump was going to finally root out the deep state. How could anyone be dumb enough to believe that Trump was going to do that? I mean, it would have been one thing if it was, someone who hadn't had this long association with Jeffrey Epstein, but it was well known that Donald Trump was someone very closely acquainted to Jeffrey Epstein, who said on the record, Jeffrey Epstein likes young girls, and I think he's a wonderful, fantastic guy. What did Trump actually say? You don't have to parse the words. He pretty much said he wasn't going to do anything with any so-called Epstein files. And he said why.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
Would you declassify?
Let's watch that one more time.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
So, I mean, he's calling it phony stuff. He's worried about ruining lives. And I don't know. I mean, whose life could it possibly ruin but his own?
Shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. A tape in the NBC archives of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention.
Donald!
The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests, among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. But as the president says now, he never liked Epstein.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
Jeffrey Epstein had some interesting things to say about Trump to the reporter Michael Wolff. But I mean, why would anyone think Trump was going to release the Epstein? If there is some secret black book and there's new information to be rooted out about this network of pedophile elites, why would anyone think Trump would be the one to do it? I mean, he'd be the least likely to do it unless like Bill Clinton could run again.
I think that's the key point. I'm not convinced how much material there actually is. I suspect a lot of this was just like Trump influencers like Dan Bongino giving bait to their audience. Because look, if there was
evidence, they know their audience is that dumb.
Well, but I mean, if there was evidence like this, I just don't think it would be allowed to exist. I don't think you have files this damning that ought to sit there for that long. I just think if there's this level of corruption and these crimes, and that evidence gets destroyed by whoever is in on it, which I think so. Not saying there wasn't ever evidence about Epstein and everything he was doing, but I just think if it existed, it would have been destroyed a long time ago. And speaking of destroyed evidence, I mean, there's still the controversy over the suicide footage, like the footage from his prison the night he died or allegedly died, which was edited, which is a common thing that happens in cases. Like I met with Israel and the soccer hooligans in Amsterdam. Damning footage there also was erased too, right? So like
yep.
Something that happens in these cases.
Well, I mean, the real and I'm not making any comment on Epstein or the Epstein files because I'm not going to claim complete expertise on them. But there's just this real blackmail bribery network run by a foreign intelligence agency hiding in plain sight called AIPAC. And it has control of Congress, has control of so many institutions, has control of the Trump administration. Maybe it's a factor here. There is plentiful evidence that Trump was asked about today about Epstein having been involved with a foreign intelligence network like the Mossad. He had a Saudi ID card found in his residence, which looked to have been forged. This came out through prosecutor Alex Acosta, and there may be more to learn there. But it's the funniest thing to see Trump supporters. I mean, this is funny on its own. Trump supporters blame Kash Patel's girlfriend for burying the whole. I'm seeing this everywhere. They're blaming Kash Patel's girlfriend for the whole Epstein cover up because I didn't know she was Jewish. She's a Jewish country singer.
Right, she would not be Jewish. I mean, like this is easily how this stuff spread. I mean, who knows? She
seems pretty goyish to me. Yeah, I don't know, but she has done stuff for PragerU. Okay, and it is true that PragerU is co-directed by a veteran of Unit 8200 in the Israeli cyber warfare division.
Okay.
That's all true. And PragerU, under the watch of like Ron DeSantis and various Trump allies, is being implanted in the minds of impressionable youth through primary school curricula. But blaming Kash Patel for basically following orders and being a good soldier on this is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, people will blame everyone but Trump himself. And I mean, what you got with the BBB and what you got with bombing Iran is you got a guy who looks and seems like so out of place in American retail politics, doing the same thing John McCain and Paul Ryan would have done. You basically have orange Paul Ryan and orange John McCain. And now this Epstein saga has sort of crystallized it for Trump supporters that maybe they're not being told the truth.